Hi, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make our braided cabled mittens. They coordinate with our braided cable double brimmed toque that I already have on YouTube, and there'll be a link for watching the hat tutorial as well. So let's get started with the mittens. I'm using wool of the Andes worsted weight, and the color that I'm using today is camel heather. You'll need a G and a G plus hook for this tutorial, so a 4 and a 4.5 millimeter, and I'm using my Odyssey hooks from Furls Crochet. So I'm going to begin with the 4 millimeter G hook. Let's make a slip knot and put that on the hook. Now chain 22. And in the third chain from the hook, so 1, 2, 3, we're going to work a half double crochet. And we'll work half double crochets all the way along our chain. And when you get to the end, you should have 20 stitches. So once you get to the end, chain 2 and turn. And now we're going to work in the back loops only. So we're going to yarn over, going through that very first stitch. We're not counting our chain 2 as a stitch, and make a half double crochet. So in the back loop only of every stitch. And just continue that all the way down. So the rest of this section of the pattern, we're just going to be repeating this row 2, working in half double crochets in the back loops only. And then you're going to get something that looks like this. So I have made a total of 20 rows. And now what we're going to do is chain 1, fold the band together, and we're going to slip stitch it. So you're going to work through the very first stitch and the first stitch of the other side and just slip stitch. So we're working down through every stitch, going through right to the other side. So you'll be slip stitching across 20 stitches. Okay, so I've completed that. And now we can change over to the larger hook. Okay, so now we have the larger hook, and what you're going to do is work single crochet stitches around the edging. So for 2 half double crochet rows, we want to insert in 3 single crochet stitches. So these are actually the first 2 rows here. So we'll do 1, 2, 3 stitches. Here's the next 2 rows here. So there's 1, 2, 3. So you should have 30 stitches when you work that way all the way around. When you've worked all the way around, we're going to slip stitch in the first single crochet to join and chain 1. Now we're going to work in extended single crochets, and we'll work 1 in every stitch around. We're not including our chain 1 as a stitch, so we're working into this very first stitch right here. So to work an extended single crochet, you're going through, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So we're going to work those all the way around, and you should have 30 stitches. And when you've worked all the way around, we're going to slip stitch in the first extended single crochet to join. Chain 1, and we're going to begin working our cabling pattern. We'll work across 9 extended single crochets. So I've worked across 9. Now we're going to skip the next 4 posts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do a treble, front post treble crochet into the next 4. There's 1. 2. And to do your front post treble, you're yarning over twice, going around the post, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so I've worked front post trebles into the next 4, and now we need to come back to the post that we've skipped. We skipped 4. So we're going to do a front post treble back into the first skipped. Front post treble back into the next skipped. So we're going over top of these stitches. You want to really be familiar with your front post stitches before attempting this pattern. Okay, and now in the next 4 posts, we're going to work front post double crochets. So we're just yarning over once and working around the post. And now in our remaining 9 stitches, we're working an extended single crochet. And we'll slip stitch in the first extended single crochet to join. Chain 1. So now the posts are established. This round's a little bit easier. We're going to work extended single crochets in the next 9. So now when we get to the cabling, we're just working, this is one of our easier rounds, we're just working front post double crochets in the established post. Now the first 4 are kind of tucked underneath, so you need to kind of pull your work apart and make sure you count as you go so that you don't miss any. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then count across the ones that are on top. 1, we're doing front post doubles across all of these stitches. And then we're coming to the front post doubles and we're just working front post doubles in them as well. And then in the remaining 9 stitches, we're just working extended single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to work that off camera. Okay, so I've slip stitched to join. I'm going to chain 1, work extended crochets across the first 9 stitches. And now we're into the cabling pattern again. This time it's going to be probably your most complicated round. So this is the 3rd round of the cable repeat. So we're going to work in the very first 4 front post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to twist this section because this is the part of the cable that we've just been working straight. Now we want it to curve this way. So we're going to skip the first 4 and work front post trebles in the next 4. So you're yarning over twice, working a front post treble. And now we need to work back in the 4 stitches that we skipped, but this time we're not going over top, we're going underneath because we want our braid to go under at this point through here. So you need to come back under. So front post trebles, so yarn over twice, and we're coming back and grabbing that first one. So I'm going to pull my work forward so I can see what I'm doing. Complete the front post treble, yarn over twice. You can see with the work forward, you can see those next posts. Just make sure you get all 4 of them. So this is why it's a little more difficult. It's just when you're going in behind, it just makes it a little harder to see. That's all. Making sure you're grabbing them all. Okay, so I've got all 4. And then we're just coming over here and working extended single crochets in the remaining 9 stitches. So the 4th round of the cable repeat now is the same as the 2nd. So it's another easy round. We're going to work our extended single crochets into the first 9. And then we'll work front post doubles all the way across all of these posts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the next 4 are tucked in behind. You want to make sure you get all 4. And then we're just finishing off with our extended single crochets across the last 9 stitches. Okay, so now what I want you to do is just repeat the cabling rounds, the 4 rounds of the cabling one more time so that we're going to have a total of 9 rounds. So 8 total with the cabling, and then our first round was with the extended single crochet. So it's going to end up looking like this once you get another repeat of the cabling. So go through the 4 rounds of the cabling again. So if you need to go back and re-watch, you can do that. Maybe I will just go through the first round just one more time with you, and then you can just rewind and go back. So you want to work across the 9 extended single crochet. So I'll do that first. Okay, so for the first round of the cabling, we have to skip the first 4 and then work in the next front post trebles in the next 4. And this is a bit easier because these are all established now on our second repeat. So it'll be a repeat of round 2 through 5. And then we're coming back over top. So yarn over twice, go back and work front post trebles in the first 4. Whoops. And in the final 4, we're just doing front post doubles. So we'll do the front post doubles and then work the remaining 9 stitches in extended. So I'm going to continue to work that off camera. So for our right and left mitten, they begin the same way. So I'm going to work up this section and then we're going to start the thumb holes for the thumbs, and that way I can show you how to do the left and the right thumb hole. So I'm going to complete working the next 3 rounds here off camera and then I'm going to meet you back up. Okay, so I finished working up my 9 rounds. So you can try it on if you're making it for yourself. I'm needing to make my thumb hole now. If you have a larger hand and you need to maybe do another round, that would be fine. If you have a smaller hand and maybe this isn't right, you can always pull it up though farther like this if you needed to. But I think that's about right for doing the thumb hole for myself, and this is kind of how it's looking. And we have the same thing for this side. You can fold your band down. Okay. So when we're looking at our work, our mittens here, you can see we need to do a thumb on this side and we need to do a thumb hole on this side. So let's start out with our left mitt. So if we need a hole here, we know we need to do the thumb hole on the first section before we get to the cabling. On the right mitt, we need to do it on the section after the cable. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to work 2 extended in the first stitch. I'm going to work 2 extended in the next stitch. Sorry, 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want that I have 2 stitches remaining. So I'm going to work, just going to skip over those and then I'm going to work 2 extended and 2 extended in the next. Now, you can put that on and make sure that your thumb hole is big enough. Okay, and mine's fine. Mine's good. Now we're just going to continue in with our cabling pattern that we've been working on. So we're starting the first round of the repeat, so we're going to skip the first 4 and work front post trebles in the next 4. So you just have to keep in mind that cabling pattern here as you go. Let me go back. Into each of the skipped 4. So we're completing front post trebles in those skip stitches. And 4 front post doubles in the next. And then you'll just work your 9 extended single crochet in those final stitches. So now we're just going to work around 1 extended single crochet, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 1 less stitch now going around, which is fine because this part of our hand's actually smaller than how we wanted it here, so it's fine that we're down 1 stitch. So at this point, all we're going to do is just keep working the mitten now in rounds. So it's almost the same as the beginning, except we're 1 stitch short now. So you just continue with that repeat of the cable rounds. Just working front post double crochets here across. Okay, and then you're just going to keep working around. So I'm going to leave that one for now, and we're going to go take a look at the right mitt, and I'm going to go walk through that with you. Okay, so the right mitt, we're wanting our thumb hole here. So that's the last section we'll be working the thumb hole. So I'm going to go ahead and work my 9 extended single crochet across those first stitches. So I'm just working back here. I'm going to finish off the cable, and then I'm just going to meet you up at the next section where we'll make the thumb. Okay, so like the left mitt, we're going to work 2 extended, and then work 2 extended in the next stitch as well. Then we're going to skip over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the last 2, we're going to add 2 stitches in each. And then slip stitch to join. And then we're just working again in rounds, but now on this side we only have 8 stitches as opposed to 9 that we have on this side. So you're just working repeats of the cabling pattern, and you're basically working the mitt now until, I mean, if you want to do a fingerless, you could just stop and leave it open, or continue working rounds for your hand size. Well, I'm going to put this on here. If you wanted to do fingerless, just don't do the thumb and just work this maybe up, you know, to this area of your hand. It's really up to you how far you want to go with it. But basically, we're just going to keep working rounds to get the mitt long enough for your hand size. And I will work them off camera and let you know exactly how many rounds. and then I'm going to show you how to do the thumbs. So what I'll do is I'll work some rounds here off camera. I will do some decreasing before I close up the top of this mitten. So I'm going to work some rounds here off camera to get it built up, and then I'll meet you back up for the closure and also for doing the thumb. Okay, so I've been working my mitten off camera, and I've worked a total now of 19 rounds. So that is an additional 10 from the thumb. This is how it's looking. And now I'd like to do some decreasing to kind of start bringing the top of the mitten. So to do that, I'm basically going to continue with my cabling pattern, but I'm going to decrease the first 2 stitches and the last 2. So to do the decrease, we're going to go through the stitch, pulling up a loop, go right into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're just going to continue all the way around, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so I've worked all the way around, and I'm going to decrease the final 2. Now this is going to be the same basically for both of your mittens. It's just our stitch count is obviously different on each side depending on what the mitten is, but at this point we're doing the decreases the same for both mittens. So for the next round, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to decrease the first 2 and decrease the last 2. Do a decrease. And then work around, continuing in your cable pattern. And I'm decreasing the last 2 together. Slip stitch to join, chain 1. I'm just going to fit that on my hand and just see how it's coming. So I'm going to do the next round, decreasing it again. Working that all the way around. So I decreased the last 2 stitches as well, and I'm just going to keep on in this decrease pattern until we're really getting the mitten tip decreased. Okay, so for the final round here, we're gonna decrease now every 2 stitches together, and we're just gonna work single crochets. So we're going through, pulling up a loop, going through the next stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pulling through all 3, and we're doing that all the way around. You're doing it through the cables and everything. And then we have 1 stitch at the end. We'll just do a single crochet in it. And so we'll slip stitch to join. Can fasten that off. And to completely close that off, we're just going to go through every other stitch all the way around. So I went through the first stitch, we'll skip the next. Go through the next, skip the next. You're just doing this all the way around. And then that should just close the top of your mitten. So now if you needed any extra length, of course you could have added more. But I think that is a good length. So you could add, before we start that decrease, you could add a little bit more if you need to. And remember, the mittens, they will stretch out a bit when you're wearing them too. So you just want to make sure to weave this tail here to secure it. If there's any holes or anything, you can seam up anything that you need to. And then what you want to do is weave back in the opposite direction to make sure that's secure. Okay, so next we want to work on the thumb. So I am going to join in on the side here where my seam is. This is all the yarn I have left. So you may make it with one ball, or you may need a little bit of an extra ball to finish your mitten. So let's pull this in. Chain one. We're going to work an extended single crochet evenly sort of around the opening. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the last stitch there is 10. I was just crocheting over that end as I went, and then we're going to slip stitch in the first to join. So now we're just going to work around. There's 1, 2, 3, and there's 10, and then we'll slip stitch to join. And so what we're basically doing for the thumb is we're working rounds until we get it long enough. So that's how it is there. So I'm going to work now some more rounds because I want to get it up long enough for my thumb. So I've worked 7 rounds, and if you can believe it, I'm like just finishing with the yarn. So you're probably going to want to make sure you have an extra ball. If you've made the hat, let me show you the hat here. The hat uses 2 balls and a bit, so you're going to have some yarn left over from your hat that you could, so if you were making a set, you would be able to buy 5 balls and get the whole set. You wouldn't need to buy 6. But for the mittens, this is like super, super close. So if your gauge is off at all, you may not have enough. I may even almost not have enough. Okay, so I'm slip stitching to join. I'm gonna pull that through. And then we're just gonna weave this closed. So this was 7 rounds. You're just going to weave it through every other stitch. And we're just pulling that closed, and then I'm just going to weave in my end. Yeah, you don't want to play yarn chicken here with this. I would get an extra ball. I did not think I was going to be able to finish this. And it will be interesting to see my other mitten, because sometimes I find some balls aren't exactly the same. So it'll be interesting to see on finishing my other one if I run short. And I will let you know. But you're just doing the same thing here as the top of the hat. You're just weaving. And if you have a bit smaller hand or shorter fingers, if you made this a little bit shorter, then you would have a little bit more extra yarn to work with. Okay. I'm going to try it on. It's perfect. It fits really nice. And I'm going to go inside the mitten and just weave that in, but I'm really happy with the fit. I'm just going to finish up this on my own, and then I'll come back just to show you both the mitts together and let you know how I make out with the yarn on that mitten. So I'm just finishing up this mitten, and this time I actually have a little bit more. Not much more, but I do have a little bit more. So I'm just going to fasten that off. So I had about that much left. So it really will depend, I guess, whether you make it with 1 ball or not. It's just going to be a really close call. So I'm just going to weave this one in and have this mitten finished. Okay, so I have my mittens finished. They're fairly fitted. The thumb is fairly fitted. If you needed to make it a little bit bigger, I would just make sure that you maybe go a little bit bigger stitches around, like maybe an 11 stitch count. But overall, I find them pretty good. Also, depending on what yarn you use, they may come out a little bit different. I find Wool of the Andes worsted on the lighter side of a worsted weight. So if you're wanting them to come out a bit bigger, just using a heavier worsted weight, you'll get a little bit bigger mitten. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you stay updated on new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much for watching.